The new recruits lined up in perfect rows across the parade ground of Fort Arden, the morning sun glinting off brass buttons and the edges of freshly polished boots. The air smelled of iron, dust, and tension, the kind that only comes when hundreds of strangers stand shoulder to shoulder, all trying to prove they belong. Among them stood Lena Hart, small, quiet, and almost invisible in her oversized uniform. Her cap was pulled low, her sleeves rolled once to hide how they hung past her wrists. She didn't look like a soldier, not the way the others did. No broad shoulders, no loud voice, no swagger, just steady eyes and calm breath. Most assumed she was a clerk, one of those paper soldiers who handled files, not rifles. "Recruit Hart," a drill sergeant barked, pacing down the line. "You lost? Kitchen's that way." A ripple of laughter followed. Lena simply nodded. "No, sir. I'm exactly where I need to be." That quiet confidence made the sergeant pause. He stared at her for a moment, then grunted and moved on. No one knew who she was. No one knew that only 3 days earlier, the Secretary of Defense had personally signed her transfer papers, sealed under strict orders. Even her file was redacted. To the rest of the base, she was just another late-arrival recruit. But whispers started quickly. She ran the obstacle course faster than anyone else. She hit every target dead center during firearms drills. When another recruit sprained his ankle during a march, Lena carried his pack for 5 miles without complaint. "That girl's built different," someone muttered one evening in the mess hall. Rumors began to swirl. Some said she was a general's niece. Others said she was a prodigy from the intelligence division. But no one guessed the truth. A week later, an unexpected announcement rolled through the camp. The President of the United States would be visiting Fort Arden to observe training. It was unheard of. Even the colonel looked nervous as he read the orders. "All personnel will stand at attention until dismissed," he said. "Nobody moves, nobody speaks unless addressed directly." The day arrived with wind and thunderclouds. Soldiers lined the runway in perfect formation, boots planted in the wet earth. A black helicopter descended, whipping dust and flags into a frenzy. When the blade slowed, the president stepped out, tall, dignified, but with a hint of fatigue in his eyes. He shook hands, smiled for the cameras, and began inspecting the rows of soldiers. When he reached the line where Lena stood, something changed. He stopped. At first, no one noticed. But then he turned toward her, really looked at her. For a long moment, he said nothing. The colonel shifted uneasily beside him. "Is there a problem, Mr. President?" the colonel asked. The president's eyes softened. "No problem," he said quietly. "Just recognition." He took a step closer. "Recruit Hart, isn't it?" "Yes, sir." He studied her face, then nodded slowly as if confirming something he'd hoped but hardly believed. "At ease, Major." The entire line rippled in confusion. "Major?" Every soldier's eyes darted toward her, wide with disbelief. She stood perfectly still, her voice calm. "Sir, with respect, I'm here as a recruit." The president smiled faintly. "Not anymore, you're not." He turned to the colonel. "You didn't read the clearance file, did you?" The colonel blinked. "Sir, I wasn't authorized." "Exactly." The president looked back at Lena. "This woman isn't here for training. She's here to evaluate this base for an upcoming classified operation. She's the one who led the Omega evac in Kandar last year." A collective gasp moved through the soldiers. That operation had been legend, a rescue mission that saved 24 American hostages deep inside hostile territory. The reports had been vague. No names listed. Everyone assumed the commander was some hardened Special Forces veteran. No one had imagined it was her. Lena's expression didn't change. "With respect, Mr. President," she said quietly. "I came here to observe, not to be introduced." The president chuckled. "You've earned more than introductions, Major. When my team told me you were here, I didn't believe them. But now..." He turned toward the entire company and raised his voice. "Now you all should know what courage looks like." He stepped back and stood. Not casually, not politely, but in a formal gesture of honor. The President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, stood at attention before her. The Colonel and every soldier followed instantly. The air was electric. No one dared breathe. Cameras clicked somewhere in the distance, capturing the moment that would later go viral across every news outlet. The tiny recruit saluted by her nation's leader. After a long pause, the President spoke again. Major Hart carried 4 wounded men out of enemy fire, refused extraction, and completed her mission under conditions most of us can't imagine. She never asked for recognition. She just asked to keep serving. He smiled gently. And she's still serving, right here among you. Lena lowered her gaze. Thank you, sir. But I'd rather be known for what I can still do, not what I've done. The President nodded with deep respect. That's exactly why we honor you. He saluted her one last time, then turned back toward his helicopter. The entire parade ground stayed silent until the rotor blades faded into the distance. Only then did the Colonel finally speak. Major Hart, he said, voice trembling slightly. What are your orders? Lena looked down the line of stunned recruits, the same ones who'd laughed at her just a week ago, and gave a small, tired smile. Same as yours, Colonel. Train them well. I'll be watching. And with that, she walked away, the wet earth soft beneath her boots, the air filled with the hum of respect that would echo across every base in the country.